Hey guys, what is going on? We are in the zone today, episode 148. We're going to be talking about top 10 fantasy defensemen. I'm here as always with Giancarlo Aulino, Anthony Pagniello, Chris Martelli here. I'm going to pass it to Pagniello because, of course, this has always been the theme. He always kicks off these lists. We're going to do it like how we did last week. We're going to start with the honorable mentions and then slowly go from 10 to 1. So I'll start with you, Pagniello. Who do you got as your honorable mentions?
All right. It's just kind of funny because when I was mapping it out, I thought like three of these guys would definitely be in my top 10. So honorable mentions, I got Heiskanen, Seth Jones, Chychrun, McAvoy, and Quinn Hughes. So that's a pretty stellar honorable mention list. Kicking it off at number 10, I put John Klingberg here. I got him over Heiskanen. You could argue anything, whatever. They're all amazing players. But he had 30 points last year in the 50-game season. He's always been a steady offensive D. I feel like this year he's going to be the one out of the two to have more points. When I look at Dallas too, I like the emergence of their young players. And with Seguin coming back, I just feel like that team's going to look quite different than they did last year. So to start it off, I got John Klingberg at 10.
Yeah, my honorable mentions, I'll go Duncan Keith. New look in Edmonton. He's going to mooch off some plus minus. I think it's going to hurt him, though, if he's on the penalty kill too long. So that's why I have him honorable mention. Quinn Hughes, I agree. I think the RFA status might hurt him, depending on when they sign him. Might be like 2-3 weeks, but he'll stay, I think, a long-term deal. Rasmus Sandeen on the radar there as an honorable mention. Fresh contract, $6 million. He's got a lot to prove in Buffalo, where I'm sure a lot of them hope that he's a savior. And another honorable mention, I'll go Heiskanen off the top 10 here, just because of what Pagniello mentioned there, like him and Klingberg. I think Klingberg has more of the offensive upside for this season. Next year, I think Heiskanen goes into the top 10, but I have him at 11 right now in that spot. And Klingberg, number 10, just because Dallas, don't know where we're going to get this year, but I know Klingberg, been consistent scorer every year, and I think he's going to continue that.
I love it all. My honorable mentions are pretty similar. Klingberg did not make my top 10. He's in the honorable mentions. I just think the third year, man, this is the powerful year for most young guys, and I think Heiskanen might be the guy to take it over at this point in time. I do like what Dallas is doing, though. You have four goalies. You have Holtby, Bishop, freaking Ottinger, and Goudobin. So I don't know if any fantasy relevance will be with goalies, but when you look at D, it's Klingberg and Heiskanen. Another couple honorable mentions, like Pagniello said, that I thought maybe would be in the top 10 are not there. I got Chabot on Ottawa. I think he's going to have a freaking monster year. He'll just miss it. Jacob Chychrun, 20 goals is not out of the question for him in the desert. You just have to look at the plus minus. And of course, you guys are going to laugh at me on this one. He is a fantasy legend. Chris Letang is an honorable mention. So, yeah, and now going to my number 10, this maybe 3 years ago you guys probably would have laughed at me at this, but he's on one of the best teams. And last year before getting injured, he was a Norris finalist or candidate. Aaron Ekblad, number 10. I think this guy can get you 20 goals. He's on Florida. They've improved drastically, I think, this year. I'm glad to see that even some TSN guys had reportedly said that they think Florida is also better than the Leafs, so I'm not the only one there. I think, with the emergence of Sam Reinhart, who had 20 goals in 50 games last year, Duclair, Vetrano, Verhaeghe, the bottom six is even solid. So now with Yandel gone, it's Ekblad's power play. He's going to get a lot of points.
I like it. Good shit. Alrighty. Number 9, I got Morgan Riley. Yeah, I feel like he can easily put up 45, 50 points by the end of the year. 45, 50 assists. I think he's a lock for that. Yeah, he's clearly the number one defenseman on the Leafs in terms of he's on that top power play with all the guys. Yeah, he's just a steady defenseman. I was telling Chris the other day, I don't know how he had that 20-goal season. I don't think he's much of a shooter, but in terms of points, I think he'll be right there with everyone else. So I got Riley at 9.
My number 9, I got Aaron Ekblad. Kind of like what Chris was saying, I think he's going to have a great bounce back year this year. He was injured in a crucial time. I really thought they could have given Tampa a run for their money. If Ekblad was healthy and in the lineup, they probably could have put off the upset there. But this Battle of Florida with Ekblad, I think he's a captain that they like captaincy in the room. Like he's a leadership guy. Him, Barkov, like Huberdeau, those are the guys that you look for in that market to help them. And I think they're going to be guys that are crucial long term. And I think Ekblad on that power play, firing up clappers, is going to be in this fantasy. Highly sought after guy later on. So I got Ekblad number 9.
Yeah, number 9, I got Tyson Berry. I think, what we saw last year, 45 in like 54, something like that. You could anticipate if Darnell Nurse, even though getting the $9 million, if they want to put him on the top power play, then obviously that's going to hurt Barry a little bit. But I don't see Barry, taking that power play 2 slot over Nurse. I think they're going to have Nurse play a lot more than Tyson. Maybe not a lot more, but he's going to play more. But I think when you look at offensively, Tyson Berry's going to be on the top power play with, of course, Leon and Connor McDavid. I think that's going to bolster his fantasy outlook here. I think he can get you 65. I don't even think that's out of the question. So next year, I'm really high on Tyson Berry.
Oof. Number 8, I got Shea Theodore. He's coming into his own as one of the best young defensemen in the league. I thought I would have him higher, but like him and Pietrangelo, they're going to get a ton of playing time together. I think they're going to maybe share the points. I think Theodore might get a little more, but he'll take a chunk out of that. He plays in every situation, like pretty much all these guys, really coming into his own, like I said. He had 42 and 50-something last year. I don't know if he'll be that high on a 70-point pace, but, I could easily see 50-plus and a big plus-minus for Theodore. So I got him at number 8 for now.
This is going to surprise you guys. Who I have a number 8. The new Vancouver Canuck, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. Him and Quinn Hughes, I think, on the power play, if they put them together, I think Ekman-Larsson's going to get a ton of assists this season. You got Pedersen there too. Depending on when he gets signed, like they're in trouble there with the RFAs, but I think they'll all get signed eventually. And when they're all coming together, I think this Vancouver team has something special. I think they're going to take over Montreal's spot for a playoff last year if they were all playing. They could have taken that spot. And this year they're going to remind everyone in that Western Conference, the Seattles of the world, the Kings of the world, the Ducks. They're here to stay, Vancouver. It's a big year for them. I think Ekman-Larsson is going to do what he couldn't do in Arizona because they always struggle with the plus-minus. That's why I don't have Chychrun on this list. So I got Ekman-Larsson, the new Canuck.
Yeah, number 8, just like Pagniello, I got Shea Theodore. I think, with Pietrangelo, who was out for a majority of the year last year, battling injuries, having a bad battle with COVID too, it really helped Theodore. And Theodore is easily a top 10 defenseman if we cut fantasy out of it. I still think he's on a list of this. Theodore, Pagniello knows how much I love him. I think what happened when he went from Anaheim to Vegas, that is just an absolute gift. The fact that they kept guys like Manson, Lindholm, and a couple others, Montour, who now I don't even think is there. They kept them over Theodore. They easily are regretting that every single day. I think Theodore could still get 60, like best case scenario, and I wouldn't rule out the question of maybe 15 goals. So for me, when I look at these lists, if you can get at least 15 goals and about 55, 60, you're arguably a top 10 fantasy defenseman, and Shea Theodore just edged out Morgan Riley on my list here.
Number 7, I got Adam Fox of the New York Rangers. Yeah, man. Came into the league just on fire. A couple of 40-point seasons to get her going. Immediately took over that number 1D spot in New York. Him and Trouba is a nice pairing, but Adam Fox pretty much carries the load. He's Shit, similar to Riley, like in terms of his stats. Like he might be on that top power play and just continue to mooch assists off of all of their hot shot forwards. So I got him here at 7. I don't think he'll like have a huge points increase. I think he'll have a similar type year. So I got him here at number 7 Adam Fox.
Yeah, my number 7, I got Shea Theodore, 1 spot higher than you guys did, but I just like what he's turning out to be. His development has been consistent. I think Anaheim really messed up by letting him go to Vegas. They really should have tried to keep him and made the other guys exposed, and they ended up losing everyone. So I think that was a huge mistake on Anaheim's part, and Vegas ends up benefiting from that. He's a solid guy to have, him and Pietrangelo on that back end there, and he's going to continue that. He's going to be a power play point producer, and I got him at 7.
Yeah, another thing too, I think Pietrangelo going to Vegas was also because of Theodore there. I think, you look at Pietrangelo, he's like 30, 31 now. He knows he's not going to be that number 1 option. He's still going to play like 25 minutes, but in terms of offense, maybe, the whole contract negotiation was, hey, I'm getting older. I'm in my 30s. Maybe I need someone else to support me a little more, and I think maybe that's what Pietrangelo saw in Shea Theodore. So moving forward, we all know that those two are going to be headlining Team Canada, and those two are absolute beauties. But my number 7, he's a beauty. He's been a beauty for years. And Pagniello, you might be a little surprised how low I have him. Roman Yossi, number 7. I just feel like 55 points is it's the hallmark for him. He's always going to get that number. I had him last year, unfortunately, like Ekblad. He got injured for quite a bit of the year. And we all know how Nashville was last year. Just wasn't really going for them. But Yossi and Saros, if they're on their game, they could easily maybe even claw Nashville to the playoffs, drag them there. So I got Roman Yossi here at number 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if he proves me wrong and he's top 5 next year.
Alrighty, my number 6, I got Dougie Hamilton. Yeah, pretty much everywhere he's gone, he just seems to produce. He seems like he's a threat for 20 goals every year. He's solid in Boston. He put up 3 solid years in Carolina. Yeah, I love the fit in New Jersey there. He's got a young Ty Smith behind him, but I assume it's Dougie Hamilton in that spot. The Devils are looking much better. I don't know what position the team will be in, but I don't see why he can't get around 20 goals and like 55 points again. So I got Dougie Hamilton at 6.
Yeah, I also have Dougie Hamilton at 6, and like you mentioned there, I don't know what team New Jersey's going to be this year. They can all develop and turn into monsters this year, or they can have a little bit of a setback. I think Hamilton there, you have PK Subban still there, so I don't know if they're going to play together on the power play. Maybe Subban's goal total will go up by playing with Hamilton, or maybe Hamilton might struggle with the plus-minus depending on how the young guys play. But I think this is a bit of a slip on a lot of people's list having him at 6. I think if they turn things around, he can easily be a top 3 again. It's just going to come down to who he's playing with.
Yeah, number 6, it's a clean sweep. It's Dougie Hamilton. I think you look at what he can do, and it's scary. I mean, I don't want to say 30 goals, but like if this guy were to play healthy, unreal hockey, and you just give him all the power play time in the world, if Jack Hughes has a monster year, if Nico Hischier can get you 65, I don't see why Hamilton can't reach the 60-point mark and maybe almost get a 30-30 year. I think 25 goals. I think he's going to lead all defensemen in goals this year. That's just my opinion because you look at the offense in New Jersey, and yes, it's young, it's promising, but there's not a lot of guys that can pump out 30 goals. So I think Dougie Hamilton is expected now with the contract he got. I think he's expected at least 20, and I don't think he's going to disappoint any fantasy owners of his. So I got him at number 6.
Oh, Pagniello.
Oh, is Pagniello there?
Oh, I think we lost him.
Ah, shit.
Damn. Thought he was leaving us hanging with number 5.
All right, Aulino, I'll kick it to you for number 5.
All right, my number 5 is the guy right there on the right corner of our screen, Adam Fox. I think a lot of people have him. I've seen a list where someone had him at 3. I think that's a little too high. Like, I know he had a nice season last year. He's really developing well. He's turning into a great player, especially for the Rangers, who look like they could be a playoff team. But I don't want to overhype him. I think have another kind of year that he did last year, continue to improve in all areas, and I think we'll be seeing him in the top 3. But I'll go number 5 for now. I think he's still talented. He's got a long way to go, but he's a definite top 10 defenseman in this league.
Yeah, my number 5 is it's a beauty. It's Quinn Hughes. I think Quinn Hughes, kind of like what you said about OEL, I think Quinn Hughes is going to bounce back. And I think, yeah, if the contract situation doesn't go to plan, I still think this guy could be like, okay, I was going to say out of the top 5 fantasy defensemen, there's not a lot of D that can go a point a game. I think Mccarr and Hughes are like the only 2 that can do that. So that's why I have him so high. And again, with Besser, Pedersen, Hoglander's looking like a player now. JT Miller, Bo Horvat, all in your top 6. Quinn Hughes is going to get you 25 minutes. He's going to get you full-time power play opportunities. I wouldn't be surprised in a perfect season this guy gets 70 as soon as next year. So I got Quinn Hughes at number 5.
Okay, I lagged out a bit. Should I give my number 5 and then are we going right to 4?
Yeah, buddy. We only missed 1, so you're pretty good.
All right, dope. So not far off, Chris. At number 5, I got Roman Yossi. He's at the same time, though, I feel like I would take him as my second D because I fucking love this guy so much. He scores double-digit goals pretty much every year. Ever since the 13-14 season, he broke out at a young age, and he's been carrying this team ever since. 33 and 48 last year, uncharacteristically a minus. The Predators aren't really what they were like the last few years, but I don't see his production taking a hit whatsoever. I think in a full year, he's going to get right back to around 60 points and 15 goals. So he's one of the very few guys in the league I'm never worried about. I got Roman Yossi at 5.
Pagniello, just go to 4.
All right. I reached on this one. Tyson Berry. Yeah, I know. I thought about having him later, but if this guy plays the full year and he's on that top power play with McDavid and Draisaitl, is it really that hard to believe he could be top 5 in points for D again? I mean, he shoots a ton. He's got other than that hiccup on the Leafs, really, when you think about it, he's been one of the best offensive D in the league the last 5-6 years. So obviously he's not the best defenseman, but in terms of points, I'm positive he'll be there. So Tyson Berry, number 4, don't let me down.
Yeah, I didn't have Berry in this list just because of that. Like on the Leafs, when he had this offensive fucking juggernaut, he'd struggle a lot. And then when there was all those injuries, he became that number 1 defenseman and still didn't really break out or do anything. And it ended up being a move that didn't look too good on the other end of it for Kyle Dubas. So I think I'm going to slow the roll on him. I kind of was debating on whether to put him here, but number 4, this is another surprise. I got John Carlson at 4, slipping down. I think on Washington, they're going to have a same old year, regular season team, powerhouse, but eventually some of those guys are going to slow down a little bit because Netsov, you don't know what's going to go on with him and management. I think that's going to trickle down to the team, and I think Carlson's point production might slip just a little bit, but I do have him getting 66 to 70 points.
Yeah, my number 4 is Adam Fox on the New York Rangers. I know a lot of people are they're hyping the crap out of him. I'm kind of in the middle there. I want to be realistic, but I do also want to see this guy get 65 points. And I see that happening. If kind of like what you said, Pagniello, with Tyson Berry, I know he's been a little more consistent, and consistency to me is the only issue with Fox. What I saw last year, easily a Norris candidate. He was carrying the blue line as soon as he kind of emerged like McKinnon did after Duchesne left. Like when D'Angelo left, Adam Fox is like, okay, this is now my blue line. and I'm absolutely gonna take over. And with Zibanejad and Panarin and Kako, Lafreniere, Kreider, Strome, all these guys continuously, producing at about 50 points. I want to say at least 4 of the 5 guys I said they're going to get about 50 points. The Rangers are going to be a juggernaut for years to come. And the biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons is Adam Fox. So I got Adam Fox at number 4.
Kicking off the top 3. Number 3, I got John Carlson. Everything you said pretty much. The guy's, he's had 2 back-to-back 70-point years, and the year before that he had 68. Like he's really a two-way defenseman. He's not even an offensive guy. He's slowly improved on it over the years, but he's one of the better D in the league, and he plays on that top power play with Ovi and Backstrom, and he has been for years. So their setup over there has just been immaculate. He kind of took it easy this year with 44 and 52. No one's really talking about him because of all the young guys that have come up. But if you argue John Carlson number 1, I wouldn't really question that. He's been that guy for that long. So I got John Carlson at number 3.
All right, my number 3. Get ready for this one. Morgan Rielly. He's a stud. This is a contract year. I think he feels a little disrespected, and I think he's going to take it personally. Kyle Dubas, I think they're dicking around here with the contract. I think they need to get him re-signed right away, and I think he's going to make them pay for it. He's looking at all the guys around the league like Werenski, Seth Jones. They're making some top quality money there, and I think he wants his piece of the pie. I think he's going to be on Team Canada, so that's just going to make the negotiations even worse for Dubas, and I think he's going to take it out on the ice. I think he's going to have at least 75 points, career year. Put him on the power play, and I think he's going to just show everybody what kind of player he is. And if Dubas doesn't re-sign him, God help him, he's the longest tenured Leaf right now. I would sign him right before the season started and say, psych, we just we're trying to get you a little roughed up a little bit, piss you off, but we want you long term. So I think Morgan Rielly, top 3. He's going to lead this team to the promised land, hopefully, and I see him holding a gold medal around his neck at the Olympics.
I don't want to say that's ridiculous, but I don't know. The last couple of years, he's just inconsistent. That's his problem. 70 points, then what was it, 50, and then 28, something like that. So, I mean, the second half of the season last year, he was way better than the first half. I'm really not sure with Morgan Rielly. I didn't have him on the list just because of guys I think Ekblad is going to take that step. I think a couple other guys, I think Quinn Hughes, like I said, I think he's going to absolutely erupt. And another guy that I think could even be better than him fantasy-wise, you guys might laugh, is Darnell Nurse. I'm still not going to say that, but he can be on that level. But I don't know about 70 with Mo. I mean, if he can get 70, that's absolutely phenomenal. But Jesus, if Mo gets 70, what the hell does Marner get?
He's going to get over 100. You watch. Mitchie's on a tear.
Our good boy Mitchie with no more Zachy. But yeah, my number 3 is the same as Pagniello, and we have the same final 3 for sure. It's John Carlson. What the hell? This guy 2 years ago, 70 whatever points. He had over a point a game, and not a lot of D, like I mentioned, can do that. And John Carlson is one of those guys, maybe not now, but easily 65 points is for me what I'm looking for with John Carlson. He just has a clapper at the point too. A lot of people forget, they're always trying to guard Ovi on the power play with that 1T, but John Carlson, I remember there were a couple games there where he would take at least 12 shots in one game. So if your pool has shots, power play points, John Carlson's among the top 5 every single year. Kind of like what you said, Pagniello, about Roman Yossi. I want to say over the last 4 years, this guy, John Carlson, he's one of the few D that you really don't have to worry about. So I got Carlson at number 3.
My number 2, I will put this guy in that exact same category, Victor Hedman. Just one of the most steady defensemen, basically, since around the same time John Carlson broke out, 13-14, around that time. You remember he was considered a defensive D, and there were so many questions about Hedman at that time. And then he broke out with that 50-point year, and we're like, oh, never mind. And then no one really looked back from there. He's a very big part of Tampa Bay and everything they got going over there. One of the best D in the league. You can make the argument that him having surgery in the offseason he might like come out a little slower or whatever. He might take it easy this year. For me, I just think that's extra rest. And he's going to come out flying, and he might get around 70 points again. So he's in his prime. He's in the middle of it. Yeah, man, Victor Hedman, number 2.
My number 2, the guy on the left there, Kale Mccart. He's emerged a lot sooner than people may have thought he would, but I just think that he's a kind of guy that he's going to get a lot of points on the power play. McKinnon's over there. That's going to get a lot of points, plus minus. It's just the only thing I think that's going to take him apart when you're looking at fantasy leagues is the block shots. Some of them love those things, goals, power play points. So that separates him, I think, from guys like Adam Fox, Morgan Riley, John Carlson. But when it comes down to it in the complete overall game and fantasy that they all look for and all those stats, I think that's where Victor Hedman comes in. So I got Mccart at number 2.
Yeah, I got Victor Hedman at 2. I just think over the years, you can at least expect 60 points. I think last year he had 45 and 54. The year before that, he had 55 and like 66. Then the year before that, he had 55 and 70. So unfortunately with Hedman, he has never really been fully healthy the last 3 years. But if he does have a full season, like Pagniello said, 70 points is definitely there for him. Like we mentioned Kucherov, we mentioned Stamkos' point. Even now Cirelli's looking like he's improving every single year. They had to let Blake Coleman go. I think that's a big reason why is Anthony Cirelli. They're just full in with him. I just love Tampa Bay. I think they're still the best team in the NHL. They have the best. I still think you think of the best defenseman in the league, it is Victor Hedman, but he's not the best fantasy defenseman in my eyes. That goes to the guy on the left there. But Pagniello, take it away with number 1.
Yeah, it's not unanimous. Number 1, Kale Mccart. 1 fucking point per game this year in his second year, and he had 50 points in his rookie year. That is absurd, to say the least, just to start it off. I feel like by the time Colorado gets to a Stanley Cup, he's going to be like a Conn Smythe winner. That's how good I think this guy is. He's unbelievable back there. I feel like 70, 80 points, he can eventually do that. This upcoming year, I think he'll lead Aldi in points, whatever that number is. I don't fucking know. Him and McKinnon, they're going to be absolutely outstanding together. Man, guys like Mccart and Heiskanen and Dahlin and Hughes and the young defensemen in this league, they're really going to take over real soon. And Kale Mccart has just come into the league absolutely flying. So I didn't think I'd have him here this soon, but he will not be denied. I got Kale Mccart at number 1.
Yeah, I got Victor Hedman at number 1. When you look at the other leagues that have hits and all that stuff, that's where Hedman's going to come in there. He's a beast. He's going to get a lot of points this year because a lot of people are forgetting last year. Of course, yeah, they're not cheating. They didn't know anything about this. But that loophole where Kucherov missed some time, LTIR, yeah, so he's back. He's just going to hit the puck off the boards, get it to Kucherov, and you got yourself an assist. So I think Hedman's going to mooch some points there, and that's why I got him at number 1.
Yeah, number 1's Kale Mccart. Come on, man. I'm just kidding. I think he's getting 80 points this year. I'm calling that now. I think he's gonna do what John Carlson did 2 years ago. He's gonna get over a point a game again. He's gonna be headlining the power play for years to come. And this guy already, $9 million. A lot of people are saying it's overpriced. How can you say it's overpriced? He's been about a point a game coming in the league. One of the best defensemen that I could at least remember offensively. He kind of reminds me of an Erik Karlsson. When you look at the skill, just the poise, everything around him, he's amazing. Kale Mccart, like Pagniello said, I could see him being a Conn Smythe winner. I could maybe even see in a perfect world, let's say he were to get 85 points one year, a Hart Trophy may also be in the question. So I know we don't see a lot of defensemen or goalies get the Hart Trophy, but when you look at straight defensemen and the way that his offense runs Colorado with McKinnon, I could see Kale Mccart potentially winning a Hart Trophy in his career. So for now, he's number 1. He'll get you 20 he'll get you 20 goals. He'll get you 50 assists. He'll get you like 40 power play points. Kale Mccart is the elite number 1 in fantasy hockey.
Jeez.
But now we got to move on because, Morgan Riley, Aulino mentioned it. This guy, he doesn't have a contract extension yet. Now, we look at all the D that got signed this offseason, and the average price is like $8 million. That's a little more than I thought. Werenski got what, 9.5, 9 million. Jones got 9, Nurse got 9, Hamilton got 9. Just, I really don't know what Mo expects to get. If you're on the Leafs, you look at the cap situation. I want to say 7.5 is the most I'd go for him. But I guess I'll start with you, Pagniello. You've always been a huge Morgan Rielly fan. After what you've seen the last couple years and all the freaking contract extensions we've seen from D, do you match it with a $9 million offer, or do you think he's just under that?
I think he's under that. I think he'll look at all those guys around the league, though, and compare himself with them, obviously, because he's trying to get the most money. So I think Rielly has every right to go to management and be like, I want $9 million. I know you said last couple years, but it was a 5-year deal originally, right, when he first signed?
It was, yeah, 2015-16.
You look at those 5 years, man. I know we got bounced in the first every year, but when you look at his progression, there's a 50-point and a 70-point year in there. That's tough. That goes towards Rielly. Like, other than like fucking John Carlson and Eric Carlson, who else has really done that? And he's got a 20-goal season in there, and there's a lot going for him. He's been the ace for the Leafs for a long time at a young age. So, like, everything that Rielly would negotiate, you could be like, yeah, I could see your side of it. You deserve all this money. But from the Leafs side, they just simply can't fucking do it with all the forwards they've signed over the years. So ideally, yeah, man, like 7.5 for Mo. But if he went to them and said, like, I want $9-10 million, I don't really think anyone should argue.
Oh, man, you know what he's going to do? He's going to go to the office and say, Travis Dermott is making over $3 million. I'm making $5 million. And that means you cut his contract up and I'm making $8.5 million. So buy Travis Dermott. Mo's going to get that money. I think it's going to be helping that the Leafs will have Seattle in the league now and the ESPN and TNT deals. So the league hopefully looks at that, all that revenue coming in, and make the salary cap like $5 million more, maybe a little over that. But I think with the money coming in the league, they'll have enough to sign Rielly. It's just he could just really go in there and just ruin their day. Be like, okay, fine, I'm going to take some time off, enjoy TJ Brody as a number one for the next year. I'm going to go chill at home. So they can't risk that, and they desperately need Mo. So I'd give them the money and the extension.
Yeah, you know, another thing too, like we talk about defensemen that the Leafs have gotten, and you look at the list and it's very slim the last 7-8 years, and that's due in large part to Rielly. I think they've been a little hesitant over the years to draft D just because of how great Morgan Rielly panned out. You know, you get him 5th overall, easily could be a top 3 pick in that draft. We could go on and on about that draft, but yeah, Morgan Rielly, the expectations, he killed it. He has been a huge part of our team for the last 6-7 years. And like we said about many guys in the past, like Kadri, they've seen this team at the worst. And the fact that Mo, you know, he's consistently has been one of the best leaders, I still to this day believe he should have been the captain of this team. I think, you know, everything he's done, everything he's seen, everything that he's had to manage to on the fly, it's really hard for Morgan Rielly. But I think it depends. Now, hear me out on this. It depends on how they view Rasmus Sandeen in the next 2 years, because this guy has barely played. Liljegren, unfortunately, it's not looking like he's going to be that offensive stud that we thought he would be. So I guess I'll start with you guys. What do you expect from Rasmus Sandeen in the next 2 years? And do you think that can hamper on Rielly's signing?
I don't know if it'll hamper on it. I think if anything, it'll make it a better situation. Those are good situations to have when you have guys within your system pushing from within instead of having to go out and make these fucking trades. So stealing a guy like Sandy was a steal at the time. People remember. I expect him to play. I expect him to play this year consistently. I think like him and Dermott might battle at times, but I think he'll get a lot of games in there, a lot of experience, and then maybe the year after we'll start to see a bit of a jump from Sandeen. So But yeah, my thoughts on Rasmus don't change. Like, it might be maybe a little slower than people thought, but I still think he's going to be a big part of this team in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's gonna have a big year this year. I think having him now motivated, it's not gonna be a season where it's shortened a little bit. He's got a full training camp. Helps, I guess, for him that the Leafs only made it past the like that end of the season. He barely played, but then that first round playoff eggs that kind of helped him get more time to come into his body more and build on it. And I think he will see more time in the top 4 than the top 6 last year. I think they'll take more chances with him because of the salary cap situation. But like Riley too, like that's a guy. If you compare him to other defensemen that have been on the team, like Caberlet is probably the longest tenured guy recently in the last 20 years, and he was drafted. Now you got Riley, I think, coming on a decade. So like these are guys that get a lot of points, are part of your success that you need, and I think him and Sandeen, those are guys you want to lock up long term because eventually those other guys like Muzzin, Brody, they're going to get older and you're going to need to replace them. So at least if you have that skill on the back end, it's going to help things along.
Yeah, as well. Like you look at Brody and Muzzin and what their role is, I think they've overachieved big time so far, especially Muzzin. I mean, I expected him to be amazing. I just didn't expect him to log the top 4 minutes as much as he has. Yes, he's battled injuries, of course. He's always kind of been that hard-nosed, big-body defenseman that will do anything to make his team better, and we've seen him do that. Unfortunately, last year in the playoffs, he scored the 2 goals, and then he got hurt the next game, and then we know what else happened after that. But I was reading like a lot of different articles because I do want to get a little more sense about this Leaf team moving into this year. A lot of guys have said that they don't see them even maybe making the playoffs. And I don't know if that's just full-on panic just based off of last year. But, I mean, if Morgan Riley were to leave this team, I don't really see them being a playoff team. You look at their back end, it's shattered without Morgan Riley. So I think right now, like you said earlier when we were talking about the fantasy D, I think, Aulino, you hit it spot on. It doesn't matter what this guy does next year. If he gets 55, if he gets 75, at the end of the day, Dubas has to make this decision sooner rather than later. I want to even say maybe as soon as before November, you have to extend this guy because, like I said, you can believe in Sandeen all you want, but there's no defenseman on this team. And like you said, in the last 20 years, that has given as much to this team as Morgan Riley. So I guess we got to wait and see what happens. I still think 7.5 is acceptable, but I wouldn't be surprised if he asked for Seth Jones numbers in $9 million territory. And again, I'll ask this question. If we do want to re-sign Morgan Riley, what the hell does that mean for the forward group? Does that mean we have to part ways with William Nylander and Kerfoot just to manage Riley's contract? What do you guys think in that regard? Because over the last 2 years, I know I wasn't a big fan of Nylander a couple of years ago, but man, this guy has proven me wrong the last 2 years. So I'll start with you, Pagniello. Is it worth potentially getting rid of Willie to re-sign Morgan Riley?
No, not trading Willie. There's probably more you can do. I initially thought Kerfoot. That was my first thing too, because he's making like 3-something mil. Probably Dermott around $3 million. But I don't think there's any way you would have to trade. It would probably be Nylander out of the 4, but I don't think you would have to dump Nylander in order to keep Mo. I think you can make that work. But honestly, if they did have to do it, they would probably fuck up the entire team. I don't even know if I'd want to see it.
Yeah, the only reason I say no on Nylander is because I think that would take a first-round sweep or first-round exit for that to happen. I think they'll just look at Kerfoot's contract. I think that's why he was exposed in the expansion draft, just in case another team gets him. They have other guys that can kind of play that similar role. They have Ronian Amarov, who they drafted. I think they have high hopes for him to come in and eventually be a scorer in the future. So, like Kerfoot on the wing, I think it's a guy that you might look at as being an interchangeable piece, kind of like Dermott, where he's getting a big year, one-off type of thing. I don't think it will be extended unless he gets a discount, which I don't see happening. So I think those 2 guys would be the 2 to get rid of if Riley's going to stay for a $9 million payday.
Well, we got to wait and see. I do think 7.5 to 9 is acceptable. We all argued it just based off what he's done for the organization. But I want to talk about two other young gems for another Canadian organization that have not been signed yet. Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes are both RFAs, detrimental to Vancouver's organization. What are you guys offering both of them? Are you giving one a bridge deal and one the long term? And if so, who are you giving it to?
If I had to choose one,
No, like so. What I've been hearing is one is going to be a bridge deal and the other is going to be a long term contract. That's what Benning said or hinted at. So, which one do you think is getting the long term, and which one do you think is getting the bridge deal?
all right, for the long-term deal, I'll go Quinn Hughes, simply based off the fact that behind Quinn Hughes, there's no one. I love Ekman Larson. We all love Ekman Larson. He's a beauty. But in terms of having that young hotshot D that's going to carry it for the future, Quinn Hughes is obviously that guy, and no one behind him is really on that level. The forward group's pretty stacked there. Obviously, Bo Horvat's the captain. He's a fucking beauty. Garland coming over, and JT Miller can play center. Obviously, Pettersson is that superstar talent type center, but if I had to guess, he would probably get the shorter deal between the two. But in the whole grand scheme of things, I know Vancouver fans are kind of sweating right now. I wouldn't bat an eye at this. Even if they set out a week or so, I'm pretty sure they're getting both of these guys signed.
Yeah, I think it's more of like a salary type thing because of that Luongo retirement. It kind of fucked up the whole salary cap for Vancouver's future, and it's unfortunate for them, but those are the rules. They got that contract, so they got to live with it. And I think Quinn Hughes, like I agree, I think you give him the long-term deal. Ekman Larson coming there is nice, but eventually he's going to get older. Like he's going to probably slow down. Obviously not now, but like 4 years from now. So it's good to have Quinn Hughes, a guy in his early part of his career, going to go into his prime, locked up long-term. And then you look at a guy like Pettersson, he's eventually going to be the highest paid player on this team. Whenever that salary buyout clause, retirement clause ends up leaving, they're going to have more money to play with, and I think he's going to be the guy that eventually is going to be making that $11 million to $12 million range. So I see him being a little short-term deal, maybe 3 to 4 years at like 7, 8, and then after that, he'll probably get the big bucks. So I'll give Pettersson the bridge deal.
Yeah, I think you guys hit it spot on. I think Quinn Hughes is getting the 8-year, $8 million extension. I just see that being a perfect, easy. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but I just think that's what he's looking at. I think Benning, what I heard, he was looking at $7 million. But I just think after what we saw with, Mccarr getting 9 for 6 years, I think they just want to do the 8 and 8. I think that's just the best case scenario for Quinn Hughes. Like I said before Pagniello lagged out, I think this guy him and Mccarr, I think the only two defensemen moving forward. Maybe Adam Fox, if he could prove to do it consistently. I think, though, Hughes and Mccarr are going to be a point per game, at least for like 2 or 3 consecutive years. I think that's how good they are. I think Quinn Hughes is an absolute stud. I'm keeping him. $8 million, I think, is not too much by any means if a guy like Seth Jones can get 9. So, and then you look at Pettersson, it's a little harder because this guy, I think, could be an absolute superstar. Like Pagniello said, I remember his rookie year, he was already looking like their best player right away. There were a couple of games when they faced Calgary, he had 5-point games. So he's going back to that division. Unfortunately, this year he was injured for quite a bit of it. But again, like you said with Hedman, I think he's well rested. And if the contract works out, let's say he gets a 4-year, $8 million contract, then you know what? That's absolutely solid for Vancouver because they have been deserving of these guys for quite some time. After the Sedeens left, it was really, really rough for them the last 6 years. So now with Horvat developing into that unbelievable captain, looking like a Bergeron-type player, you have Pettersson, the superstar, and you have Quinn Hughes re-signing. Then we can maybe consistently talk about Vancouver, how they were in 2011, and maybe being a playoff team consistently in the Western Conference. But I'm now going to move on to a team that is far from being a playoff team in my eyes. They are in our division. It's the Ottawa Senators. They still don't have Brady Tkachuk signed. I guess I'll start with you, Aulino, this time. What do you see him getting? I know they offered him 8 for 8. Is that enough to get Brady and probably the future captain done?
No, man. If it's not, he's probably going there. Yeah, I'm taking 9.5 to 11. If you want me to stay in Ottawa, I think he has all the cards here, and he's looking around and like, I'm going to be the most important player on this team. If you don't want to give me that, I'll sit out the year, and then after I'll be a UFA, and I'll go to Calgary with my bros. So I think that Ottawa needs to smarten up. Their owner needs to stop being cheap. He's loaded. Let's dish out some fucking cash here, and let's get your most important player signed.
I thought he was going to get like fucking 6 to 7 mil per. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, blame Darnell Nurse. Blame Nurse and Jones.
I believe Tkachuk's going to be that guy for Ottawa, but yeah, what Aulino said, it's the Ottawa Senators. You got nothing but money to spend. You probably have to beat the fucking cap floor. So this guy's your future. Sign him. Just sign him.
I mean, they even got Norris coming out of nowhere. He could be a 30-goal scorer, those assholes. Freaking San Jose. Trading Josh Norris. Damn. Batherson's looking good. Logan Brown's a bust, so that's fun. Connor Brown's he's the better Brown of the two. Love it. But
yeah.
you know what? I'm not surprised that Brady's asking for that much. He's already led the team in points the last 2 years. When I thought it would probably be Chabot, I thought he would get like 60. But Brady Tkachuk, since coming in the league, just like his brother Matt, he made it out of training camp right away. He had that pro-ready body. He's that guy that you need on your team to win. And if Brady Tkachuk does not re-sign in Ottawa, they're going to be having top 5 picks for like the next 3-4 years. So if Brady Tkachuk does not re-sign, their rebuild gets extended another 4 or 5 years. So like you said, spend the money. I know, Pagniello, you don't think he's worth $8 million, but unfortunately, it's looking like that just because of what Seth Jones and all the defensemen signed this offseason. So cap is steadily going up, but the players' wants has just skyrocketed, going from $5 million to $8 million, from $4 million to $7 million. It's like, okay. Because guys like Josh Anderson are getting $4.5 million. And it's like, okay, are they really worth that much? And that's where you got to start. You got to start comparing salary. So I think Brady should get about what his brother got. But now, I'm gonna conclude in Buffalo because, guys, this is a clusterfuck. I'm not gonna hold back here. What has been going on in Buffalo this offseason might be the biggest L I think I've ever seen in an organization. First of all, you have Owen Power getting selected first overall. It's looking pretty solid. He looks like a Victor Hedman type of defenseman. What does he do? He's going back to Michigan. He doesn't want to go to Buffalo and play. Not this year, at least. The top line center is looking like it's Cousins or Middlestat. That's great. But they've never been first line centers. And now we get the big news. Jack Eichel is going to go and do his physical. Probably going to fail it. Not play for USA at Beijing because of it. And what just happened about 4 hours ago? He got stripped of the captaincy in Buffalo. So I don't even know where to start here. I know this organization is a complete joke at this point. I'll start with you, Pagniello. What are your thoughts on how Buffalo has handled this Jack Eichel situation?
Well, not very well, but this is kind of reminding me of the Ben Simmons situation now in the NBA. It's just as each day passes, it's like you don't think it can get worse, and it just keeps getting worse. So I think we're going to get to a point now where it's like we have to get this guy out of Buffalo. So I'm running out of things to say. I love Jack Eichel. The guy's an amazing talent. Just hearing all this come up is just it's so upsetting. Yeah, man.
Look at these stats. This is what they're getting rid of. This is who they couldn't keep happy. This is a guy who they drafted in that draft where he probably, if McDavid wasn't there, he'd be first overall. And you just look at all this, man. It's a generational talent falling in their lap. Last year, that team was awful. 18 and 21 he still got. This is disgusting. Yeah, this team, It's disgusting. 78 points in 68 games on that team. Man, this is, I don't know what to do. They got more GMs and coaches during Eichel's tenure than I think they've had in their history of their franchise. And they're going to lose them. So I hope that trade package is great and it turns them around, because in 3 years, if Rasmus Dahlin doesn't like what he sees, he can dip as a UFA. So I hope they enjoy it. Enjoy the process.
I said a couple of years ago when Mark Stone got traded from Ottawa to Vegas, I said, you know what? It doesn't matter that what you get back. You know, they got Brandstrom. It doesn't matter. You're not getting a player like Mark Stone ever again in that organization. You're never getting a player like him. So you get rid of him. It's nice. You know, you get that blue chip prospect. You get that first round pick. But it's not the guy that you used to have. Just like Buffalo, I don't care if Zibanejad is in that deal. I don't care if, you know, Lafreniere, Kako, whoever. You're not getting a player back that is what Jack Eichel is. Jack Eichel, in my eyes, I know Pagniello, you know I'm a huge fan of his. I think this guy could lead the league in scoring if everything works out. He's right there with McDavid, I think. I want to say whatever Matthews gets, that's what Eichel can get. That's how I view Jack Eichel. Because for the longest time, McDavid, Eichel, and Matthews have always been intertwined with each other. And now the fact that Buffalo has just become this clusterfuck of drama and negativity the last 2 years, Eichel's stock and his value has just completely tanked. And I can't wait when he comes back what he's going to do. I know for sure he's going to dominate the league. I know he is, because Buffalo, I'm going to warn you right now, you can get 4 first-round picks back, but you're not getting a player that will ever amount to what Jack Eichel could have been. So good luck. I wish you guys the best of luck moving forward. You're going to be at the bottom of that division for at least till I want to say I'm 33 years old. Good luck on that. And just got to keep moving forward, because this is looking like an absolute joke. I'm going to start with you, Pagniello. Now, this is funny. Jack Eichel is not the captain anymore. Is there anybody even worth taking that C? Is there anybody? Is it Dahlin? Because I don't even think he's going to be there after the 3-year contract's over.
Because I'm going through this roster now, it's not really... It wouldn't be worth it to put the C on someone for 2 years. I feel like for Buffalo fans, like let's fast forward 10 years from now, and you're looking back at the history, you'll be like, oh yeah, Colin Miller was captain for 1.5 years just to fill the void. Like, what the fuck? It's like when the Leafs went without a captain for a few years, and you kind of look at the roster, you're like, yeah, maybe we'll just let that one slide and wait for the right guy to come along. That's where they're in. Since they took it off Eichel, just fucking leave it until the next guy comes along.
Yeah, another one would be put on a guy who you know is going to be there, regardless if you want to trade him or buy him out, because, you know, Jeff Skinner, he's got a nice long contract, give it to him, but then you're in a position where who do you have as captain for the other 48 games of the year where he's not playing? So I don't know what they can do here. Maybe just give it to Dahlin for 3 years, be a nice little transition, and then when he leaves, he can be like, all right, here's the C back. I enjoyed my time, and he can go somewhere else. But Buffalo is not looking so good right now.
Oh no, man, they're absolutely terrible. Like this is an organization that completely just they failed their superstar, and it's so hard to do that in hockey. And like you look at even what McDavid's been going through. He has 3 playoff series under his belt, and I think 2 of them were sweeps. So like it's just I don't know how you can't benefit and help a guy like an Eichel immediately. You try and get as many. You got rid of, like, I don't know why you easily got rid of Taylor Hall. I know the problems were there. I know, like, the goal scoring, all that. You get rid of him for nothing. You get rid of Eric Stahl for nothing. So now you're looking back at last year's trade deadline, and it's like, no, I don't blame Jack Eichel for wanting to leave. All the guys that he had faith in to get the, secondary points or even benefit him, or he can benefit them, they just dip for nothing. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dahlin dips in 3 years. Owen Power, I don't know if he's salty. I don't know if he just wants that college education. Good old on him. But if Owen Power can turn out to be a Victor Hedman type player, just give him the captaincy next year. Because, there's not a lot of hope there at all. Dylan Cozens is a guy that I saw in the World Juniors. He's looking solid. But other than him, man, oh my God, it's such a headache. Middlestat, this guy I was so high on him. And, I mean, hopefully he can get you 50 points this year if he plays top line all year. But other than that, this team is a complete joke. That's really all I got to say. There's not much I got to add there. I guess I'll start now. We'll end on a positive note here with Buffalo. With Eichel out all year, who's the guy that's going to get the points? Who's the fantasy guy that, let's say you're in a 12-team league. I know this isn't going to be with our pool, but I'm saying let's say you're in a 12-team league, keeper league. Are you taking a shot at Cozens? Are you taking a shot at Middlestat for the year? And what do you think benefits them the most without Jack Eichel?
If I'm in a keeper league, all right, well, I'd probably go Dahlin just because he's clearly the most talented player there. I assume the plus-minus will be disastrous. That's okay. I'm sure you're aware of that going into it, but he's definitely an option. Casey Middlestat's probably going to play. I assume he's number one center. One of those two. 40. Yeah, I mean, you're playing top line all year. Shit, I don't know. The stats are going to be there. Someone's got to score. It won't look the prettiest, but I'll say Dahlin and then Middlestat up front.
I'll just say Middlestat for the forwards, but if this team is playing awful while he's out, he definitely will just say, you know what, cut my contract, mutual consent, keep the money, I'll leave. I don't know.
Keep the money.
If they say okay, we have this great team, they're exceeding all expectations. Let's say they're 15-4. Eichel will say, you know what, okay, I'll come back. Let's try this out. But we've seen that before when they were in first and then dipped all the way to last. So they're in a bind here. I don't know how you can get out of it. You got to trade Jack Eichel, a.k.a. John Eichel, out of Buffalo and get some pieces and really go all out here because this is going to be the biggest move of your franchise.
Easily. And you know what? I'm going to end this with some comedy because I'm looking at their goalies. And in this book, their starting goalie is Aaron Dell, and their backup is Craig Anderson. So I don't know if they purposely did that because they're both new additions to this team. I don't know if they're going to give the crease to Pekka Luukkonen. I don't know if Craig Anderson's going to have that 2016 Ottawa Senator run that he had. And I don't know what the hell Aaron Dell can bring to this team because we literally lost him off of waivers. And he's projected to be a starter on another team. So I'll end with this. How many wins does Buffalo get in a full year next year?
Aulino, kick it off.
I'll go. I don't want to sound too disrespectful here. I'll be nice. I'll say 23-26.
Okay, I was going to say 26, so we're in the same boat.
I think the record is Atlanta. I think they won 19 games one year. So I'll say they get around 24 wins. They'll be just barely over that because of, I don't know, let's say Middlestat one game goes off. But other than that, this team, oh my God. I wanted to say last year in February, I think I was saying to Pagniello, I'm like, you know what? They got Hall. They got Eichel. They got Stahl. They could be a bubble team maybe in 2-3 years, and then you get rid of them, and then now we're right back to where the nightmare began in 2014-15 when they were trying to get McDavid and they failed. So, joke's on you. You get Eichel, you can't even keep him happy. So, I'm done. I'm done with my little rant there on Buffalo. I think we're gonna end the pod on that. Aulino, if you have anything to add, Pagniello, if you have anything to add. If not, this was episode 148. Stay tuned next week. Well, we probably go down the top 10 wingers in fantasy, and we'll let you know next week. Take care, guys.